politics,
Allow me to introduce myself. I am an iconoclast.
A what?
Don't worry if you don't know what it means. I had to look it up myself. I was looking for a way to describe myself in one word, the way people do when they introduce themselves as doctors or as lawyers or engineers. When I'm on the fly, I usually go with, I'm a writer and a musician. But this could mean a lot of things. How many different kinds of writers and musicians are there? When I was a kid, I wanted to be Leonard Bernstein. But how do you describe Leonard Bernstein in one word? You can't. He was, at the very least, a conductor, a composer, and a teacher. The most succinct way of describing Leonard Bernstein is to say that he was Leonard Bernstein. But iconoclast, according to Google search, which pulls from the Oxford American College Dictionary, it refers to a person who attacks cherished beliefs or institutions. Synonyms include skeptic, heretic, infidel, renegade, and mutineer. I started the Sex, Religion, Politics website in 2011 to challenge popular notions of propriety in thoughtful and amusing ways. Why? Because I'm a progressive, and yet I value tradition. I honor my father and my mother, but that's not enough for me. I must raise children of my own. I must claim my own territory and build my own home on it. My ego demands it. And as Freud pointed out, in order for a man to make a lasting positive contribution to the world, he must murder his father and marry his mother.
Do what now?
By the way, that was a metaphor. For those of you who are prone to literalism, that is mainly Republicans, so please don't misquote me on that. Don't pull words out of context and say that Greg Silva or Freud advocates patricide and incest. Freud used the Oedipus story as a symbol for, and I'm going to be insanely simplistic here, how and why children ultimately replace their parents. And not only their parents, but also their bosses, their ministers, and their political leaders. People have to die, and aging structures, including traditions, have to be torn down and ground into foundations for the new and improved. For the iconoclast, this means not following in the family business, or the family religion, or other family values. It means living as a black sheep and doing so without resentment. It means slaying dragons and returning with treasures that your family never knew existed. Furthermore, it's not a choice. I didn't ask to be born with this idol-smashing temperament. It means I have to be alone a lot in order to get the manure out of my head and onto paper and into recordings in order to reach an audience. It's my calling, my destiny. I long to have a wife and children. I long for more male friends. But even more, I long for an international audience that values my creativity enough to pay handsomely for it. And I don't mind articulating that in public at the risk of sounding immodest. Iconoclasts, after all, are given to bold declarations that provoke ridicule from those more averse to risk. The good news for all of those who think I'm a bit too full of myself is that fame and fortune are trappings that I currently don't have to worry about. And if that sounds like sour grapes, it probably is. If I could have both and not lose my soul, that is, my spiritual hunger, that would be ideal, but it hasn't worked out that way. 5 years ago, I wrote a short piece for this website called Rigorous Honesty. A version of that piece was recorded for episode 4 of this podcast. The piece itself is a blunt satire projecting myself as a man who suffers from womb envy.
From what now?
Womb envy.
I still don't.
It's the opposite of penis envy.
What the hell is that?
More Freud.
Hey, the only Freud I know is Freud chicken.
Okay, guys, you can look this shit up on your own time. But in a nutshell, penis envy is when it's when a woman wishes she were a man. And womb envy is when a man wishes he were a woman.
So that ain't hungry, you wish you was a woman?
No!
Greg, you something else.
Obviously, it's a comedic premise. I'm making fun of the notion of a guy who envies women.
Okay.
Don't get defensive.
Don't get defensive. You guys irritate the shit out of me, and when I say ouch, you tell me to calm down. I know that game. My mama didn't raise no dumb babies. In fact, my mama the one taught me that game.
All right now.
So anyway, this piece...
Rigorous honesty.
That's right, Myron, thanks.
It's a 12-step term.
That's right, rigorous honesty is a 12-step term. But anyway, back to my point.
Yeah.
You may or may not like the piece, or think it's funny, or whatever. But in the piece, in the context of a joke about myself, I refer to women, to some women, who've been unnecessarily rude to me down through the years as bitches.
Oh.
And I mentioned that I have fantasized about magically becoming desirable to those women so that I could be rude to them in return. All in an attempt to make myself look silly and to demonstrate a kind of sexual insecurity that many men suffer from.
Yep.
Now, one could pull words out of context to suggest that I consider all women to be bitches and I vowed revenge on all of them.
Yeah?
But that would be lying.
That's right.
That would be what I call yellow stream media, you see?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay now.
One more thing you need to know before I launch into the frightful tale of the disgruntled pet sitter.
Sounds like a Poe story.
Po white trash.
Comedy. May I finish?
Go on.
Oh, don't mind me.
I know you two know this, but some of our audience may not know that before the bottom fell out of the economy in 2008, I worked as a dating coach.
Yeah, whatever happened to that?
Well, business dried up because of the recession, and I had to go back to food and bev.
To what?
Food and beverage.
I thought you were a videographer.
That business went away too. Everything changed after the recession. I sold my video equipment and went back to what I had done as a young man, which is how I met you guys.
You were a parking valet.
You were a parking valet?
Yeah, right before I got back into catering. It was the first job I could get.
For real?
Yep. I was working with people whose parents are younger than I am. But anyway,
Uh-huh.
next week I'll explain why I went into all this about taking shit out of context.
The dissing grunt. Fuck, I can't even say it.
Yeah, the pet sitter story.